So I've tested a lot of community platforms over the years. Skool, Mighty, Circle, Discord, Discourse. There are so many out there. And if I'm being totally honest with you, they kind of start to look the same after a while. But one of my clients recently introduced me to a new one called Swarm, which I had not heard of before. And so I was excited and itching to get into a totally new interface. I think Swarm is actually doing something fundamentally different from these other platforms, and I want to break that down for you today. If you are a solopreneur, a creator, a service provider with a membership, I want you to pay special attention to this video so you can find out if Swarm is the platform that you have been hoping and dreaming would exist. Today, I'm going to give you my honest, unfiltered take on who Swarm is best for, what it does really well, where it might be falling short, and if it's really worth it for you to invest in it in 2026. Let's get going. So let me start with the basics. What is Swarm and what sets it apart? So Swarm actually describes itself as a video-first community platform. Now, this is something very different from what you see on Skool or Mighty Networks, where video is possible. You can upload video, you can do live streams, but Swarm is really video first. And this is the first time I've seen a community platform position itself in this way. And I think it's really important that you understand the history of this platform, because while the community platform itself is new to the market, it actually comes from another product that was developed years ago called Storefront. Now, this app is specifically for collecting video testimonials and getting responses to your feedback queries and surveys for your clients and customers. So you can see how a community platform kind of spun out of that idea that you could have interaction between those videos and put the video first. I think this is actually a really big benefit to the Swarm platform, because there's a lot of new community platforms that launch on a regular basis. Are they going to stick around? Are they going to go by the wayside? That's always a big consideration that I have, and a warning label that I put on new platforms for my clients. But knowing that they have this kind of steady history gives me a lot of hope, and hopefully also instills hope in you as well, that this platform is not just fly by night going to disappear in a year. Now, Swarm's whole bet is that having video interaction inside of your community and making that the primary lever of the communication that happens there is what is going to make your community feel more human. There is evidence that communication richness can speed up time to relationship formation. So this is a really interesting hypothesis and something for us to really be focused on as creators and business owners. If we want to establish relationships more quickly and build trust more quickly, video might be the best option. Now, this is really interesting because since the advent of forums in terms of internet history, text has always been the dominant medium. If you look at Reddit, if you look at AOL chat forums, it was never about video. These things weren't even possible on the internet in the early days. It was always about text, and that history has really continued to this day. The default in community platforms is almost always some kind of feed or threaded conversation based primarily in text. And you'll find oftentimes that people are not comfortable communicating in that way. And if you're teaching something that's visual, like dance or learning how to play an instrument, that's not even something that's helpful to people. They have to see video, and ideally they have to return video back to you so that you can review it and see the kind of progress they're making. But what are the features that really stand out? Now let's move into the features that set Swarm apart, and let's go in depth on what they actually look and feel like when you are building inside the platform. So first and foremost is the video first messaging. This is the primary differentiator between Swarm and other platforms, and it's something that is going to look and feel completely different than other platforms you've seen out there today. Inside your community spaces, members aren't just responding to each other with text threads, though that is possible. They are actually creating videos and recording and responding to one another in real time. Now, here's why this matters from a community building standpoint. In my book, Building Brand Communities, we talk about the power of shared experiences. These are the building blocks of belonging inside of your community. And so when you're actually creating something that everyone can be galvanized around and be working toward, such as sharing a new lesson in your community and sharing a video of that lesson and then asking everyone to respond with their attempts at that with video, that is so powerful. It is going to create a shared sense of belonging and a shared sense of experience that everyone is going through together. Everyone is making progress together or working through their challenges together. And that is what's going to make a really concrete community. Interestingly, Swarm reports that their communities have between 40 to 50% engagement inside of them, which is extraordinarily high inside of communities, let me tell you that. And I do think that a huge reason for this is because of this shared experience that's being cultivated. Now, when you're thinking about building your community, this is going to require that you show up on video a lot. So if that is at all uncomfortable for you, you should probably think about a different avenue. The second feature I want to talk through is something that I have never seen inside of a community platform before, and that is what they call one-on-one spaces. So you can actually roll out an entirely one-on-one kind of coaching membership inside your community where only your members can see what they're posting and what you are posting back to them, but you can sort of mass send out updates and lesson plans to them so that they're all going through the same experience, but they don't actually interact with others in their community. Now, this is not what I would call a community in any kind of traditional sense. It's more of a program, but it's something that if you're thinking about scaling a group program, but you know that your community is filled with folks who might be competitors with one another or might feel too vulnerable in a way that's impossible to overcome in terms of their learning journey, then this is a really interesting way to build out a truly scaled one-on-one program that requires the resources of a group program, which can be a little bit easier to run than one-on-one deep customized consulting. Another feature that's unique to Swarm is this kind of storefront that they let you create. And so you can sell many things. You see this on other platforms, including Nas.io, on Skool. You can see all the different options for the ways that you can purchase and become part of a membership. And this is the way that Swarm specifically talks about it, is you can create a store of all of your offerings. So you can sell your one-on-one offers at the same time as you sell your community offers, at the same time as you sell static content and other kinds of resources. What this means is that you don't have to have something like Thrivecart or Dubsado or another kind of payment processing software, or I should say checkout software, on top of your community platform. So a lot of community platforms, the look and feel of this sales experience is not great. So you end up building out your own storefront outside of the platform, which takes a lot more time, a lot more effort, usually another piece of software on top of it. So this means you can do it all in one. Important to note here is that Swarm offers a couple of different pricing plans, and depending on the pricing plan that you go with, different transaction fees will be taken out of your sales in the community. So make sure that you pay attention to that, but take a look at their pricing page for more information about those transaction fees and what they mean at each one of the tiers of their software pricing. Another feature I want to talk about is how AI is used in the platform. Of course, AI is deployed across all community platforms at this point. I haven't seen a single one that's not bolting it on in some way, but I think it's just table stakes at this point in many cases. Now, if you are a time-strapped founder and you don't have time to sit there and get really empathy with all of your members all the time, you have thousands of members, the AI features within Swarm are really going to help you. Now, I would never counsel you to spend less time thinking about your members and getting into deep empathy with them, but if you are running a truly large program at a scale that it's just you operating this thing, then this can be a huge time saver. Just make sure that you are augmenting whatever the AI is spitting out with your own real feelings, words, thoughts, dreams, all those good things. Now, the last feature I want to talk about is the events and live streaming features within Swarm. They are comparable to what you see on Skool and Circle. There is actually native live streaming within the platform with limits depending on your plan. And you can also have those recordings immediately posted to your community and also host in-person events and other kinds of gatherings within your community. So again, this is one of those features that's really table stakes for most community builders, and Swarm has this. So I think it's important that you know that and that you take a deeper look into what the limitations of that might be for your specific use case. All right, we've talked about the cool things about Swarm. Now I want to be 100% transparent with you. I am pretty critical about these things. So I want to talk about my honest take on the gaps for this platform. Now, I will say that I've seen on G2 that people say that they update their roadmap really consistently and that they are constantly putting out changes. And even in the course of my time doing research with Swarm, I've seen them roll out new changes and address major gaps within the platform. So they are moving really, really quickly. That responsiveness is something that you don't typically get with a large platform because they're building for large enterprises. And if you are not part of a large enterprise, you don't get priority on their roadmap. So with Swarm, you will. But here are some of the gaps that I'm seeing today. Number one, and probably the most concerning for those with large communities, is moderation. Right now, there's no backend moderation capabilities on Swarm, meaning there's no unified dashboard where you can see all of the issues coming in at once. However, you can assign admins and moderators and other custom roles so that folks can keep an eye on the community with you. I've also heard from the team that they have an entirely community-driven roadmap, and moderation is right up there as one of their top priorities going forward. So this will be addressed pretty soon. Secondly, there's not much customizing you can do to the onboarding experience and onboarding emails. Now, there are integrations with Zapier and other tools that are hosted by Swarm. Out of the box onboarding is just not very powerful at this point. Similarly, there is a weekly newsletter that goes out in your community. This is not something that you can customize in any way. So these messages are just right out of the box. This is what's happening, and you've got to learn about it by just doing. Another drawback is if you've been looking at a platform like Skool, one of the value propositions that they bring to the table is they have a massive audience, top of funnel awareness of Skool, especially among creator audiences, not so much outside of that, but they throw your community out there into their discovery engine and it becomes something that then other people can find. Now, because Swarm is small, it doesn't have that power at this point. So if you're banking on having the kind of discovery engine and that being part of the value of what you're hoping your platform will do, this isn't it. But to be totally honest with you, I would never, ever, ever rely on a platform company to market my community for me or even have it be a major lever of the marketing. That is like best case scenario, very, very rare. And even those who are part of platforms like Skool oftentimes aren't surfaced in those main discovery engines. So I wouldn't let this one hold you back. Another drawback, and I just want to call attention to this, is that they do say that they have a branded app. Now, I want to be really clear about what that means because it does not mean that signing up for Swarm is going to enable you to put an app in the App Store on Apple or for Android. It doesn't mean that. What it means is that you get essentially a browser shortcut to your community. One positive of this, though, is that it is a very, very cost-effective way to have the feeling of a native app. It includes everything like push notifications. You can fully brand it, and you can do that in a way that is very cost effective. You won't find this anywhere else. So that's actually a big plus of Swarm. So I want you to be really, really clear about what you're getting there because when you see branded app offered on their community, it doesn't mean you're going to be in one of the app stores. So these are the main drawbacks that I think most of you should be aware of and be considering as you're making your platform decision. Now, before I make my final verdict in this last section, I want to hear from you. What platform are you using today? And is it working for you? Or are you considering Swarm and you have further questions? Make sure that you drop me a comment below and I will make sure to address it. And I want to compare Swarm to a couple of different options because you are likely comparing Swarm to a couple of different options. So starting out, let's look at Swarm versus Skool. If you are okay with an entirely text-based community with very light video engagement and you're really focused more on size over depth of relationship, Skool is hard to beat, especially at their flat rate plan. But if you're really focused on deep relationships, getting as deeply involved with your clients and your customers as you can, seeing their progress and building those relationships over time, then I think Swarm is the clear winner. So they're really solving two different problems. So the question is, which problem are you trying to solve? Now, what about Swarm versus Circle? Circle is really for those companies that want more branding control, more customization. They now have like a Claude MCP. There's just a lot you can be doing with it, but it is totally overwhelming. And I get that for many solopreneurs and creators. For example, we work with a lot of creators on Circle and they tend to need help, one-on-one help getting set up and optimizing the platform. If you want to use the bare minimum of Circle, you can, but you're really not going to get the most out of it unless you work with an expert or become an expert in it yourself. With Swarm, you're not going to have that kind of learning curve and you're going to be able to get in and launch your community within hours instead of, maybe faster, honestly, instead of taking all this time to get everything set up, make sure all of your settings are correct, and just making huge mistakes if you don't have expert guidance. I also want to share that Swarm is really going to create more warmth, especially in courses, than what I've seen in Circle. Now, these things are all subject to change. These platforms change all the time, but what I've noticed from Circle's courses in particular is that they feel flat. Here's a hierarchy of information. It's from point A to point Z, as though all learning happens linearly, and it doesn't. And you're gonna notice in Swarm with that video first kind of learning and course platform functionality that there is more engagement and more of a kind of pathway through learning, if that makes sense. It's a deeper learning experience versus like clicking through a course and being done at some point. What about Swarm versus Mighty Mighty Networks. So I think one of the things that Mighty Networks is really great at are their courses. They have a lot of different ways of deploying learning. And if you are really focused on building out group learning programs in particular, I think Mighty might still be the best fit for you. But if you're just getting started, again, Mighty is complex, and to get it correctly set up takes a lot of time. If you are just getting started and you want to be testing things out and getting really in the nitty-gritty with your members, Swarm might be the better option for you. Are there other platforms you want me to compare Swarm to? Let me know in the comments and I will jump in with my thoughts. All right, drum roll please. My final verdict on the Swarm platform is that if you are a solo creator or a service provider who wants to build deep relationships and watch your members go through a process of transformation, Swarm is a platform you should absolutely be considering. It's something that is going to help you to actually get hands-on as much as you can digitally with your members and to really focus on the human and the relational aspects of your community building journey, which frankly, I think a lot of people lose along the way. The video first approach isn't a gimmick. It's not just marketing language. It actually mirrors the exact way that relationships are built through sustained interaction that happens time after time after time. And the more rich those conversations can be, repeatedly happening over and over and over again, the more likely it is that relationships will truly be formed. Is the platform perfect? No. But is it going to get you started in a really powerful direction that's going to build the foundation for all kinds of incredible business outcomes for you in the future? I think so. If you are a solopreneur, a creator, a membership owner, and you want community to be the product that you are building, then Swarm is worth a serious look. I hope this video has been helpful for you. I've made sure to link Swarm in the description below so you can take a look at that and jump right in and see how quickly you can get started today. If this video helped you, I invite you to subscribe to my channel, to leave me a comment below asking any follow-up questions or giving me any feedback, and to make sure to follow me on Instagram at Carrie Melissa Jones. You're welcome to ask me questions there as well. Thank you so much for your time, and I want to send you all of my respect and care as you continue your community building journey.